Welcome to TYT Sports. Monday morning in the studio, our first clip, at least shooting chronologically, our first clip is Steve Kerr. Has to do with Damian Lillard for MVP, which I know will get a lot of our comment section fired up and happy.
Absolutely.
Because one of the most underrated players, as we talk about every year, and one of the most snubbed players in terms of, I want to say, accolades. And again, they're just accolades. I love to talk about the MVP award. I love to discuss NBA Finals MVP, team, like all first team, all second team. But last year, Damian Lillard was somebody who didn't make the All-Star team and rightfully should have. And I guess you can say, I don't want to say snubbed from like one of the first, second, third teams, but he should have been in the conversation more so than that. So here's what Steve Kerr, head coach of the Warriors, says of Damian Lillard. He likened it to the presidential election. I think Kevin Durant is kind of like Gary Johnson, which is single-handedly the greatest comparison I've ever heard for Kevin Durant. A third-party guy who might come in and take a few votes from Steph Curry and take some votes from LeBron James. He then said, then Damian Lillard wins the election. That's my forecast. He continued to say about Curry and Durant for MVP, the good thing is I don't think either guy minds too much. Kerr said of Curry and Durant. I think the fact that they're both here and wanted to be here tells you that's not their main goal. And Lillard, he wants to win the MVP. If we come out and we do the things we're capable of doing and we win games, then that means my performance will be at the level of an MVP.
Okay, let's start with my frustrations. I have a lot of those usually.
Let's hear, what is it? Brady's back, do you not?
We're going to get to that for sure. But the first thing is, for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's not actual NBA fans, or maybe it's just pundits, maybe it's people who want to build up some excitement for the season. I don't need extra excitement to be built up for the NBA season. I love the NBA.
Fact.
I love every one of those 82 games. Love them. I could watch every one of them. I just don't have time. But because people complain at the NBA, oh, nothing's about the NBA until the finals come around. Oh, playoffs, no big deal. Oh, why do they play so many games? Oh, they just run and lag up and down the court into the playoffs anyway. I don't believe any of that. Of course, they lag around sometimes, but that's not because of anything else. So things like this, the talk about MVP talk and who's your all-time starting five? Oh, who's the best center of all time? Oh, is LeBron better than Jordan? Oh, is Kobe better than Jordan? I don't care. I'm tired of those kinds of conversations because people need to have some kind of excitement built around a season that actually is already exciting. So Steve Kerr coming out and talking about the MVP race before the season has even started is the most senseless conversation I could have. Now, pundits, we can sit and talk about it, whatever. People having some general excitement, but why Steve Kerr coming out and talking about this right now before the season starts has ulterior motives. Steve Kerr is tired of his team being the new Darth Vader type team, especially with Kevin Durant coming in. So I think, this is my conspiracy theory, which is probably untrue, is that he's trying to quell the anger and hatred towards Kevin Durant, Kerr, Curry, who's come together. And, everyone tends to kind of forget about Klay. Klay is awesome, by the way.
Of course.
Klay Thompson doesn't get any respect for what he does for that team. He's amazing. But either way it goes, he knows those are the two guys who are getting all the hate, especially with Durant coming in as this hated guy who just got his ass kicked but joined the team that just kicked his ass. So this whole thing about he's trying to do some reverse psychology so people stop thinking, oh, they're tired of voting in Kerr as MVP so people can start going, no, I'm not. I'm going to vote him anyway, dude. It's like Curry, I think Curry's trying to spin this in a way to, first off, get all the anger off of his team and to maybe still give his top player a chance to win it again.
So Steve Kerr is a very intelligent guy outside of just the basketball IQ. Obviously, that's known in the game of basketball, but this is a guy who comes from literally a family of scholars. If you look up his father, professor and eventually president of a university. It's actually a tragic story. But what happened with that, again, a tragic story, but still what you're kind of alluding to is not necessarily wrong. It's not necessarily a conspiracy theory. I think, for one, Steve Kerr believes that Damian Lillard's a fantastic player. I don't think that's any kind of news.
Anybody who doesn't believe that is an idiot.
But yes. I do think that you're not making any kind of conspiracy theory. I think that Steve Kerr is getting better each year with kind of distracting the media, take some of it off of his own players, because on top of everything else, with Kevin Durant and Draymond Green stories and Curry coming out and having the backup Draymond Green, the Warriors' narrative this season will not end with this season. Steve Kerr is in this boat for the next 2, 3, 4 years because they are the most hated team in the NBA right now, and that's not going to stop. It happened like that because the same people who hate the Warriors are the same people who loved them. They were America's darling when they were rising, and Curry's hitting these threes, and Klay Thompson, and they won, and they beat the Cavs in the final, and it was the greatest thing they saw. And then just give it 6 months, hated. The second they started winning, they started to become even more hated. So I think Kerr is doing a great job at deflecting a lot of just all these little headlines that come to it because, of course, there's 3 MVP candidates on that team, 2 surefire ones in Curry and Durant, and sure, why couldn't Klay Thompson knock down 500 threes this season when he's going to get the most open looks any three-point shooter has probably ever gotten in history? And to be fair, there was a great meme that was running around the other day saying like how it feels it's Klay Thompson's face and how it feels when you have to take all of Curry's point guard matchups. Because we know Curry's a good team defender, not a good one-on-one defender. Klay Thompson, on the other hand, is a fantastic one-on-one defender. But in terms of Damian Lillard's case for winning MVP, I love it. I love that he's getting the credit he deserves to maybe be an MVP. However, I just don't think with guys like James Harden and Russell Westbrook in the mix, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis is in the mix, when it comes down to, like, again, the season hasn't even started. I think there's too many other guys who are going to put up too many monstrous numbers, and how MVP voting goes, it would be surprising if he did it. I would just love for him to at least get voted to an all-star team.
Right. So I guess 2 more small things also. Later on in this article, they talked about how LeBron's response to always getting the MVP talk happens all the time. Yeah, LeBron deflects. And they liked how it's, finally opening up where guys are actually openly talking about whether or not they win the MVP, first of all, which is what Lillard did say, as we pointed out. And then how suddenly it's not a bad thing to do anymore, which I never understood why it's bad to say, you know what, I'm good. I expect to win. What's wrong with that, first of all? So I'm glad we're finally getting past that.
I want backhanded comments from the players. I want juicier, tantalizing, dramatic headlines.
But I guess I'm sorry. No, and I'm sorry. So I guess from what LeBron said in response, opens up to the reason why I don't think Russell Westbrook has a chance at all. He's the leading. Everyone thinks he's gonna win.
I'm on that train.
I know. I remember that quote from LeBron. You got to win to get one, being the MVP award. No matter how great your individual numbers are or your play is, your team has to be successful, and I've been a part of some really successful teams so far. I don't know if anyone is projecting that the Thunder are going to be going to the finals, or they're going to run through the Warriors and then run through the Spurs and run through the Clippers. I don't know if they're expecting any of this as a one-man show, but they didn't do it when they had both Durant and Westbrook. They did once. But now that Durant's gone, suddenly, Russell Westbrook, all this team you can't win an MVP award unless your team does really well. But to the finals, near the finals, and you have outrageous numbers. Only reason he's going to have outrageous numbers is because there's no one else on that team.
But what if the writers who vote on this award are sick and tired of people saying you can't win the award? So they decide the 13th place in Western Conference LA Lakers, and they give it to D'Angelo Russell. They go, he had a great breakout year. You know what? Screw these guys who think that we can't do it for, they weren't in first or second place. No, I'm all voting for D'Angelo or Jordan Clarkson.
Just because. Let's shake this up. And one last small thing to go back to point out or flesh out Steve Kerr's point about the political connections. He called Durant Gary Johnson. So in that case, if Kevin Durant is Gary Johnson, he's taking votes away from Curry. That means Curry is probably Donald Trump. Donald Trump is like the fatigued one. Everyone generally doesn't like this guy. We're sick of hearing from this guy. We're sick of seeing him throw up three-pointers and run away like he's already made them. He's too pompous. So, also, Damian Lillard, which, again, Steve Kerr is saying, is Hillary Clinton, who is actually disliked, and everyone's just going to usher her in because we have no other better choices. So, Steve Kerr actually hates Lillard, dislikes Curry because he's Donald Trump, and he only actually likes Kevin Durant.
Right. Gary
Conspiracy.
Johnson.
Concealed.
I thought that was possibly the best quote of the NBA season. I liken Kevin Durant to Gary Johnson. Said nobody ever until Steve Kerr waltzed in and claimed it. Interesting stuff from Steve Kerr, head coach of the Warriors. All good stuff coming from the NBA, which tips off tomorrow. Knicks 82-0, NBA Finals champions. Most likely 81-1 after tomorrow night. NBA Finals champions. J.R. Jackson on Twitter, @JR Jackson, @JasonRuber91. Back in just a moment with some more NFL news.